So I'll give an intro. I'm here with Cassie Bergman, and Cassie is about to go on a pretty incredible adventure. So she's a photographer, but Cassie's also, what's up everybody? There are a bunch of people joining us, which is super cool. So you guys, Cassie is an aspiring retoucher too, but she's and you can see this photograph behind us is one of her shots. She's leaving next week to go to Alaska. Where in Alaska?
Bristol Bay, Alaska, and specifically King Salmon is the town I'll be living in.
King Salmon. It's just like a town that was just named after a fish. Just like...
Yes, and we fish for lots of king salmon as well.
Yeah, because that's what the trip is for, if I get it right. So you're going up there to hang out with some guides and to shoot them.
Yep. So I work for fishing guides up in Bristol Bay. They've had an outfitter up there for 10 to 15 years, and I am everything from their personal assistant to their personal photographer. So they're sponsored by several different outdoor brands. So the cool thing is that I get to be in constant communication with these brands while I'm up there, and it's pretty cool because I'll be up there for 4 months. So it's a pretty unique experience that I get to be working up there, but at the same time working with the brands throughout that time.
Right. So is it like you have two clients, you have them and then the brand as well?
Totally.
Yeah.
So I got the work side and then the brand communication, and all the while trying to communicate with people over the internet that is very minimal up there. We're in a very remote location with barely any internet.
Do you have to fly in?
Yes. So I fly in from Anchorage, and then we fly out all over Bristol Bay for fishing trips, but I fly directly from Anchorage to King Salmon.
So in that case, is King Salmon someplace that you can actually get to by car, or is it you have to fly in?
Nope, you gotta fly in.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been to a place where I gotta fly in.
I know. It's pretty cool, but it comes with a lot of uncertainties and kind of like fear of like, okay, you're here, and if you need to get out, you have to fly out. So it's got that like definitely like remote, just kind of like, ooh, it's exciting, but it's definitely different.
I mean, that for me is what is exciting about, stuff like mountaineering, rock climbing, backpacking, is that once you're out there, you completely rely on yourself for that. Like, so did you, because you did this last year, did you do, how many years running? Is this?
Last year was my first year, actually.
Okay. So did you,
went for 4 months last year.
So did you really have to tweak your thinking? Have you done a lot of outdoors, like mission critical type of engagement with like wilderness before?
Yeah. I'd say the most I've done would be like out in the gorge. I worked with a professional kayaker, a Red Bull athlete that is out in the gorge. And so we would hike into some pretty epic, but like pretty sketchy locations.
Yeah.
And, I usually hike in by myself with all my gear and meet him because he'll be coming down the river.
Oh,
and
crazy.
I have to like meet him at the waterfall. So it's like, I've done crazy missions where we like parked on the side of the road, and he's been like, okay, turn on your GPS and look at the dot and follow the dot because there's no internet. And so it's like,
totally.
Okay, follow the dot and I'll meet you there at maybe this time. And so that has probably been like the closest thing I can equate to this craziness of like flying to Alaska and being in remote areas.
That is pretty gnarly though. I mean, that is like full commitment, right? You're out there, all you have is a GPS, and there's 100,000 different ways to like screw that up and get lost.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty used to the pressure of that, I guess.
That's good you didn't just jump right in.
Yeah.
Well, it's cool because it's cool to be able to do this kind of live streaming, because there are people like from all over the world watching right now, which is really cool. So if you guys joined in, Cassie here is I guess we could call you adventure photographer, which sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah.
And she's leaving for Alaska next week to shoot for a brand, for a couple brands that sponsor these outfitters that she's going to be staying with. And so, what do you do on a typical shoot day when you get up?
So I'm usually up by 5 because we're always on the water by 7. And depending on whether we're fishing the local river or flying out, is a big factor. So we'll usually go down to the dock and get the boats ready. And I'll usually just be like shooting the guides, getting their boat ready,
Okay.
and getting their gear ready. And then we'll get out on the water, shoot some, shots of us driving up the river, and then we'll just like kind of find a spot, and then I usually like get out. I've got my waders on, and I'll usually just get out in the water and just kind of move around them, and
Yeah.
stay away from the fly as much as I
Yeah.
can.
Not get snagged.
Yeah. Exactly.
So when you guys are like, first of all, when you're getting the boat set up in the morning, I'm sure it's like, it's kind of business time, right? I mean, they've got to get all of their gear for real in there. It's not like staged. These people are out there actually working.
They're actually fishing, and most of the time they have actual guests with them. Sometimes I'm lucky to, get them to myself. But that makes the pressure so much higher because I can't necessarily be like, oh, can you do that again? They're like,
Yeah.
no, I am on go time. Like, there's a time schedule. Like, we usually have to get to the actual fishing spots, like, ahead of other people because there's all these other outfitters out there trying to, like, get to the best fishing spot.
Totally.
So there's, like, a total time rush, and if I'm the one that's holding them back, that's not good.
Yeah. Wow, that's a high pressure environment. Because they're also taking clients out sometimes with them when you're with them because I mean they have to keep working, right?
Right. So that's like part of the job is like I'm doing 2 jobs simultaneously. That's why this is kind of like a unique scenario. But
yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to challenge myself that way because it's always pushing me to be on top of the game and just like can't miss a beat or else I'm kind of messing up other people's experience.
I can imagine that. Yeah, so I can totally imagine that. That's just like high pressure, high intensity, no second takes. You gotta get the shot when it happens, right? You can't be like, hey, could you catch that trophy fish again?
Yeah, seriously. No, yeah.
So I think it's interesting too, like how that can actually translate to, like for a photographer, it could translate to also, I think, probably working with celebrities and professionals because they have they have a limited amount of time. What you capture with them has to be authentic and you can't bug them.
Totally. They're usually like 15-minute window, like, I gotta go on to my next thing or my next photo shoot or my next meeting, and you can't be like, can you do that again?
Yeah, like LeBron, can you make that look you just made again? No, little to the left. Yeah, he's like, I gotta get out of here if you didn't get it.
Yeah.
Do you guys? So do you come to each day with like a shot list that you want to capture?
So normally I'll start like at the beginning of the season. I'll usually get a brief from the company, and they'll have like their campaign brief or their seasonal brief. And if I have that, I'll take that with me. I usually do some prep work of just like kind of researching that. Like they just basically give me a deck of like, this is our vision, this is the product, and I'll usually have the product sent up like a couple weeks ahead of time because it takes like 8 to 10 days to get mail up there. Like even Amazon is like totally just hit or miss. So
wow,
we kind of prep ahead of time with like going over what the seasonal product is, and then they'll ship it up, and I'll kind of put some looks together and take it out in the water. And
so you kind of style it too.
Yeah, it is kind of all up to me. There's no like art director on set like telling me, oh, let's fix this, fix that. So I really gotta like get stuff in camera. Or I mean, now that I'm getting into retouching, it's also been pretty awesome to be able to like tell myself like I can fix it in post, but really while I'm up there, there's like not a lot of opportunity for me to like sit down and like really take too much time on the photos.
Yeah, totally.
And I don't have a lot of like bandwidth for using data and like just setting aside my normal office hours to like
right. So you're not like uploading everything to the cloud when you get home every night.
No, I actually have to wait like 2 weeks to a month to just like compile everything and then send it in big chunks because the household that I live in, we live with there's 5 people living there, and so I share. This is gonna sound crazy. I share 10 gigs per month with 5 people, so we each have about 2 gigs. Some have to use more than others, but
yeah,
I have to save data to the end of the month for the business side of things. Like if this guide service needs to use it for their business, they can't run out of data.
Totally.
So I'm always like sharing that.
Do you guys ever like barter data? Like,
yeah,
dude,
like you stay off Instagram so I can get my work done.
Yeah, could I borrow a gig?
I'll give you one.
Could I use one of your gigs? That's
and it's like crazy expensive too.
Really?
Yeah.
So are they on Are they on some kind of satellite?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
They just pay monthly. I think it's like $600 a month. Like they're like crazy.
That's insane. So people are coming in and out of the live feed, and just if you guys just popped in, Pedro just popped in. What's up, Pedro? Tatiana's in Russia. Daniel's in Sydney. Jamie's in Los Angeles. So that's what's so cool about this. Yeah, it's so cool. So Cassie, Cassie is going on this trip to Alaska to do a photo shoot for, what'd you say, 4 months?
4 months, yeah.
4 months in a small town that you have to take an airplane to get to. So we're talking remote. What are the brands that sponsor the outfitters that you're going to be staying with? And how do you communicate with those brands, and how did you land that gig?
So they are sponsored by Yeti, Patagonia, Fish Pond, Costa Sunglasses, Loop Tackle, and Rising Nets. And so they are just some of the best fishing guides in the Northwest, and they just have built this career for themselves, and they have gained all these sponsorships. And then one of the guides is actually an ambassador for Patagonia and Yeti, and so we just became friends and instantly, became really good friends. And then they needed help in Alaska, and I just, I stepped forward and was like, that sounds awesome. And we kind of talked about like the photo deal beforehand of like making it work where I'm working for them, but I'm also photographing regularly with them. And so I've kind of become their go-to photographer because I'm with them, working with them almost year round, because I work with them at the Oregon coast for their other guiding service as well.
Right.
So yeah, it's just happened so that I work with them so much that now Kate is the Patagonia and Yeti ambassador, so now I'm like her photographer for those assignments. So it's been a really cool opportunity.
Well, those are like two of my favorite brands, is Patagonia and Yeti. I mean, I think if I had to think of one all-time apparel brand that's my favorite, it would be Patagonia, definitely.
Yeah.
Just because they do so much good stuff. Do they hook you up with gear?
Yeah, sometimes it works out that I'll get to, keep some of the gear or use some of it for the shoot, or, it's really helpful to be able to ask for if I need something, like we're going into like freezing cold conditions and I like just need something for the actual shoot. And then we can actually use it in the shoot, which really helps. And, But Kate has a lot of great gear that she's built up over the years that we're able to kind of supplement. And
that's cool. Yeah. So the process of going out for a shoot day itself, you guys are out in all kinds of gnarly conditions, and I remember you were telling me about one shot or one day of shooting where you were all out on the water. I think this was at the coast actually. You guys were all out on the water, and it started to snow.
Yes, snowing fishing shoot. Yeah, that was my first.
Which is like, it sounds like a beautiful opportunity for catching some shots. I mean,
right.
This.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's pretty wild to see those two things together. I guess in the Northwest we see it more, but not so much Washington and Oregon as often as like Montana. But,
yeah. But it's a different kind of water than Montana too, right? Mm-hmm. You're down there in those, those coastal, I guess, are they referred to as estuaries? I mean, are they down there fishing?
Fisheries, I'd call them.
Fisheries, yeah. But just a different quality of light, a different quality of water too. So those are pretty epic shots.
Yeah, totally.
Did they use some of those?
That was pretty recent. That was like back in, I think that was like early February. So
okay.
It kind of takes a while to get the process going of taking photos of selects and stuff.
So do they, so the process of getting those shots to the client, so I'm guessing once you come back, your client is going to be the brand, and they're probably the ones doing the approvals and asking you to make any changes or giving you a list of selects that they need. How does that work?
Yeah, so the selects, I usually just go off the brief beforehand, and then afterwards I just send, some brands are different than others, like Patagonia, for instance, just gets the file, I send the files, and then they make the selects, and they actually have their own editor, so I just send like the raw, end up sending the raw once they've made their selects. But
cool.
For the other brands, like, a lot of these are pretty small, so like I have pretty close communication with them of just like back and forth, like, hey, like what are you looking for specifically, and then they can give me just like a general idea, and a lot of them give me the freedom to just like have the creative freedom, and then I'll usually just put together a library of my own and make light edits and then send them over, usually via like WeTransfer or just like a PDF contact sheet.
Yeah.
And then they can make the selects and, tell me how to move forward. Like, we want this, this, and this. And then I sometimes dive into deeper edits on those or just give them as is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it varies throughout each brand.
Do you, so you've also been pushing into retouching over the last couple of years, I guess. Is there that opportunity there for you also to handle the retouching too? And do those brands actually know that you do retouching? And like, if not, how do you think you might communicate that to them and be like, hey, I can do this whole thing?
Yeah, I'm actually still, voicing that to people as I communicate with these brands. I definitely want it to be known up front, like, look, I can do the retouching as well. That is really important for me to be able to offer both things in the future, because I know a lot of photographers who are like, oh, I don't touch retouching, like I just hand it off, or I hire a retoucher, which I get because I'm that retoucher that gets hired for that. But I want to be able to do it all across the board. I want to be able to take my own photos, get it retouched, like super dialed, and be able to offer both of those.
Well, that's good too, because a lot of people don't know, but photographers will often, depends on the client, but they'll mark up the cost for the retouching. So the shoot cost, then the retouching cost line item above their shoot cost, right? And then, buried in there is markup for the retoucher. So I can imagine that there are photographers out there who do handle the retouching themselves and also mark themselves up.
Yeah,
to make a little extra change. You know,
totally.
but yeah, if you're one of those photographers, because I know photographers who are like, hell no, I cannot be doing
Hmm.
retouching. It just drives me crazy. It grinds me down. Let's send it out, which, you know, I totally understand. Um,
Yeah. I
uh,
love it so much. It's like my favorite part to get back and sit down and make my selects and then see a photo after you already thought it was like, oh, that was a great photo, and then all of a sudden it's finished and you're like, I didn't realize it was like 100% not finished. Like,
yeah, totally.
there's so many more layers that can be added. No pun
Uh,
intended.
Carlos is asking if you have an Instagram that people could check out.
Yeah. It's Cassie underscore Bergman.
Cool.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, I mean, I think they want to see more of your shots, and let's bring
Yeah.
up a different one
Yeah,
behind.
and zoom out of can you minimize the mountain one to be able to see the rest of the image?
I thought I could.
If not, when you went
Nope,
back
I
to
got it.
it, there we go.
Yeah, so let's see. Maybe you could talk about this one just for a minute, and I could take myself out of the scene here.
Yeah, so
What was this day like?
this one was we flew out to a remote destination. So we're already in a remote destination, and then some days we do fly out trips, which means we go catch another float plane, and it takes us anywhere from a half an hour to an hour to a different remote location.
Wow.
The pilot actually drops us on a lake or a body of water and drops us. We unload our gear, and then they fly away and pick us up later. So we're like alone in the wild.
That sounds, yeah, it sounds like a probably could be a Discovery Channel show.
Seriously, if I mean, I have mad respect for people who go out to film those shows because the amount of like effort with the gear
Oh God.
and just walking around the uneven land and just there's
Yeah,
so many factors.
trying to look through a camera while you're trying to navigate like a stream bank that has, you know, like,
Right.
yeah, crazy.
Yeah. So we got dropped off. We hiked in. This was Kate is on her way to net a fish. She's holding her net in her hand, and she's like hiking through the water to go over and catch the fish. And I was really trying to focus on like for the product wise, really trying to focus on the like deep rushing waters. You know, like we want to show the waders can withstand like heavy rushing waters. That we want to show the flexibility in the waders, like
Yeah.
that movement she's got going. I was looking for that, and just definitely something to be aware of is like where the logo is and all the pictures. Like just really always thinking about those kinds of things when you're actually setting up to frame the photo.
So here's a bit of a bigger shot, but see what I really like. I love it when I hear people explain. You know, when I hear photographers or retouchers explain that stuff, those specific things about what they're looking for, because it shows that sort of understanding of like I I understand my products, my subjects well enough so I can recognize like when they're moving in the right direction or
Mm-hmm.
something's happening that demonstrates the technology that's part of the garment itself, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Right.
and having the language to be able to uh, articulate that. I'm guessing your clients love that because they go, oh, she really gets us, you know? She really gets what a waiter needs to do. So you got to kind of be out there living it to understand it. I could imagine the same thing in sports, you know?
Absolutely. And yeah, that's part of their brief and their direction. Like you really have to study it beforehand because when you're out there, it's really easy to just like blast photos and forget what their direction was because they have a goal with like we want to show that these waiters like are you can move in them and all this stuff. It's not just like look at this pretty shot. It's like you want to think about the functionality of the actual product.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that, you know, out there in the field, you know, you're probably surrounded by so much really incredible country and so, you know, just stunning beauty everywhere all around you. If you don't keep your head in the game,
Yeah.
you could totally miss what you got to get.
Right, because you could get distracted with photographing a million beautiful landscape photos, or just, you know, bears. We frequently come across bears, and it's really easy to get distracted with like things that you normally wouldn't. You know, you
What, like
wanna, like jump
like getting eaten?
Yeah, that's always.
Yeah, like being eaten alive. Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, out of your group, are you the slowest runner, or is there somebody you keep around who's slower?
Ooh, I would say I'm pretty quick and nimble. I could definitely. Actually, you're really not supposed to run from a bear, so I can't say that. On camera, I should not say anything about bear safety. But
That's true. That's
yes, it's
true.
always good to look for the slowest runner and put them behind.
Okay, I understand. So you would stand there and directly challenge the bear if that happened.
Kind of supposed to. You gotta make yourself big.
Yeah, how tall are you?
5'2", so I gotta.
Okay, so they
gotta
would
wait
be
for
scared. They'd be like, "Oh my God, she must be dangerous, like seriously dangerous if she's 5'2" and she's like standing me down." You know, I wonder if yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have to do that last year. But we'll see.
Well, I mean it's crazy because you're sitting there, you know, you're looking through, you know, you're looking through a camera, and also trying to keep an eye on your back. Have you guys ever just been surprised or had some bears pretty close by?
Oh yeah, we actually hiked in on this shoot and hiked in through tall grass. Like, you know, when they say don't go into the tall grass.
Totally.
We literally just walked for a half an hour in the tall grass, came out of the forest.
Oh my God.
And we were shooting, and 5 minutes later, I swear to God, a giant brown bear came out of the trail and was just, I mean, they're fine. Like, they're totally nice if you don't bother them. But came out and started fishing and just grazing, and we're like, okay, so he was behind us the entire time.
Oh my God.
And so that is pretty, like, that gets your heart a little crazy when it happens. But they usually mind their own business.
And by brown bear, if you don't know, she means a grizzly bear.
Yeah.
Tatiana says they say you can use an on-camera flash to frighten a bear.
Oh, interesting. I did not know that. I don't think I've heard that yet, but I'm gonna ask the fishing guides, because I've only talked about using like sound, like making yourself really big and loud.
Totally.
But that would be interesting to have as a backup for if we're stationary often.
Maybe, I mean, because we don't have any grizzlies in the zoo here. I don't think. Do we have grizzlies at the Portland Zoo?
I haven't been to the Portland Zoo yet.
I was just thinking you could go like practice, see if it works.
Oh man.
I don't know.
I wouldn't want to aggravate any bear. Just in case.
I mean, from, you know, it's like, it's funny because you see grizzly bears and half the time they look like these like kind of shaggy, goofy, like kind of, you know, like not really terrifying creatures, you know, when they're just fishing.
Well, we're raised to like hug our teddy bears, so why wouldn't you want to go hug the teddy bear?
Yeah.
They look really kind. I've got 2 pictures on my Instagram. One is like this beefy grizzly just standing fishing, so he's wet, and so he looks really skinny, and like you can see his biceps, and he's standing in the water, and that's a pretty intense photo. And then a second one is like the complete opposite. It's at the end of the season when the bears are really well fed and fat.
Yeah.
And so this one is like massive fish in its mouth, like torn apart, and he's like fluffy and massive. So it's like the full spectrum of like skinny bear at the beginning of the season that looks like totally ripped, and then like fat bear at the end of the season. That's pretty cool though.
Crazy. I think I remember that shot, and that bear because of being all wet, you can sort of see his physique, right? Like you were saying.
Right.
And it
He
looks
looks like a human.
weird, right? It looks creepy.
It's eerily similar to a human body.
Yeah, he's got like a six pack almost.
I know, yeah.
It's
And
creepy.
he looks really fierce, like he's just kind of like posing, like he's got his like athletic pose.
That's crazy. So I mean, 4 months up there for you, that's a long time. That's enough time to really feel like you had a pretty good vacation.
Yeah.
How do you, and these are harsh conditions too. I mean, like how many calories do you have to consume a day? And are there days where you're just like blasted and can't be thinking about all this photography and staying alive and staying warm and staying fed?
Oh yeah, I mean, between like on the cold days when you're shivering and just trying to stay warm and then fed at the same time, it's a lot to juggle. But for me, like I just keep so many snacks all over, like between my camera bag and my waders. Like I'm that person that will always have like wrappers and snacks and just like pockets full of bars and chips and just like anything I can get, because I just tend to like shoot so much and then forget about eating and then I'll like crash. And
Totally bonk, right?
Yeah, and it's like it's actually pretty dangerous out there to crash. So I
Well,
definitely like make sure to keep snacks.
yeah, because I'm sure hypothermia is a regular concern. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have hand warmers, electronic hand warmers that are the best investment you'll ever get.
Oh
if
my!
you ever go out.
I
for
did
a long
not.
period of time.
I had no idea there were electric hand warmers.
Yeah, so you can plug them into like a battery pack, and they'll stay charged for a while. But if not, you can just charge them while you're out there. But that's another thing, is like just making sure your kit is so dialed, like with extra batteries, like extra, hand warmers and everything, so that in a case of like one, if you like got stuck out there, that would be nice to have all the supplies. But
Yeah.
also just to keep yourself prepared, because if your hands are too cold to shoot, like you really can't, like I've had moments where I'm like I physically can't hold my camera and like turn the dials because I'm just like locked up.
Yeah.
And so to have those hand warmers to like instantly warm your hands back up is like ideal.
Do you know the term screaming barfies?
Screaming what?
Screaming barfies.
No.
It's a mountaineering term. So in mountaineering, you're also out there in those kinds of conditions, and there's a reaction that is called screaming barfies, where your hands get so cold that when the blood starts to come back into them, the level of pain can be so severe that you will literally throw up, because the pain, it's this specific type of pain. So when you get so cold like that, there's essentially like the blood is not circulating through your fingers and hands, because it's all come back to the heart and the core to keep you from dying, because your body thinks you're dying. And then once your body starts to warm up and it starts to go back into your hands, there's some kind of, I don't know what it is, like ice crystals.
Yeah, it's like tingly, itchy numbness.
I've had it.
Nice.
I've had it plenty of times where it wasn't bad enough to like barf, but it was bad enough that you're sitting there like this, like, oh my God, just yeah. And yeah, you've had that.
Yep.
Yeah.
That also reminds me of up there, the bugs are the worst, like, of any place I've ever been. And so there'll be times where you're like, gotta get the shot, and your hands are covered in these white socks, which are like a kind of mosquito, I think, and your hands are just covered and you're getting eaten alive, and you're like, I just gotta get the shot.
Oh my God.
When you're done, it's impossible. You just gotta like, it definitely builds, you build up some callus to all these things, because you have to push through.
I'll bet. So at the end of the 4 months, do you feel like do you feel like the strongest person in the world? Like you're like, I am hard as nails now. Like nothing could mess with me.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's a really empowering experience to be up in Alaska for 4 months.
I'll bet you get.
Alaska for 4 months.
Yeah, because they're like, especially people who work outdoors in cold environments all the times. There's a condition called, I think it's called hunter's hands. So, hunters in far north places, they develop a different type of cardiovascular health where their bodies adapt to those environments where the blood will actually continually flow through their hands after all those years. So that work makes you so freaking strong. Do you come back and kind of feel like, I don't want to lose that, or I'm going to get soft, like?
Well, I actually developed quite a bit of carpal tunnel and inflammation while I was up there.
Oh, really?
Because I was doing so much gripping between photographing, but also like just the everyday things like carrying gas cans and like just processing fish. Like I did a million different jobs, and so like my hands just started getting almost like too strong too fast, so that my carpal tunnel acted up. And so I had to start doing some physical therapy while I was up there, and just like just being able to like straighten my hands back out because they were just starting to become clogged. And so when I got back, I definitely like tried to strengthen those muscles a little bit more for this season, because I just don't want to go through that again. And hopefully I'll come back in October with like just ripped forearms.
Oh yeah, you're just gonna be like Popeye, dude.
Exactly.
That's incredible. Well, so it's funny because everybody's trying to find work right now, and photography and retouching is pretty scarce. I feel like it's really slowed down.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you had, for somebody who might be interested in something like this, like you do, I mean, would you have any advice about like maybe a strategy to, because you didn't track down these brands, you ended up talking to people, and then they led you to these brands. So you got any insight on, I don't know, strategies for that?
Totally. So I think you can just reach out to brand ambassadors and see if you can offer to work with them, or tell them you're interested in shooting with them, and just see what happens. And a lot of them are willing to help out or offer that experience. And that's kind of how I got started with all this. Is my friend who's now the Patagonia fly fish photo editor, like he's just crushing it. He actually reached out to these fishing guides and wanted to shoot with them. He's like, look, I'm a photographer, I focus in fly fishing, and I want to shoot with you. And and he started working with them, and then he became a friend of mine, and then like just it's all like the snowball of like who and networking. But it really is like, if you're just willing to network yourself and just put yourself out there and not be afraid to ask people. Like I'm all about like just reaching out to people, kind of cold calling, but in like a polite way. And usually you'll find that people are actually pretty stoked, and they're like, oh, you want to work with me? Like, sick. And so I just feel like just being less afraid of like reaching out to people, even though it feels scary and like you're annoying someone by like just like being another person that's like trying to get them to do, I don't know, like I have those initial fears of like, oh, what if if I'm bothering them, or like it's all this like dialogue that usually is false. Like you're just like building this story in your head, and it ends up being like, oh yeah, like come over for a shoot, we'll do it, and all of a sudden you like flourish. Like you build these connections that way. So
well, it's funny.
Reaching out.
That's awesome advice, because I totally agree with everything you said there. We see these people like who have like maybe an online presence or something, and we go, oh, they must be a star. They're probably like so busy, like they're not. But like on the other side, those people are like, I mean, I'm just like me. It's like not that big. I mean, okay, I got a lot of people on Instagram, but
Yeah.
you know, and then somebody comes through and is like, hey, what's up? Can we shoot or something? And you're like, yeah, sure, that'd be cool. I have people who like, you know, have only seen me on tutorials that I make, and then they you know, message me up and they're like, hey, you know, Mr. McCullough, can I ask you a question? I'm like, what are you talking about? Totally, dude. Yeah, I'll jump on a call with you. And they're like, what? I'm like, no, I mean,
Huge.
yeah, I'm like,
So wonderful to do that. Like, I've had that same experience with you. I'm like, this is awesome. Like, I can have a meeting with Steph. He's totally an inspiration. Like, this is huge. And like, it helps people, you know, it helps people all around. I think it's so important to never lose sight of being willing to help people out in that way. Like, I feel like
totally.
We're becoming a culture that is like really, in a sense, can be like afraid of each other, afraid of confrontation, because we're just like online or on our phones, or there's not a lot of like face to face, and it's scary to reach out to people. And I think like we have to keep that dialogue open and like be open to those kinds of experiences so that we can kind of stay social in that sense.
I think that's great too, because I think if, you know, because I've always approached people like that too, where I've just like messaged somebody up and they send me an email back. And so like, I always approach getting in touch with somebody who's doing cool stuff that I see online. I've always tried to approach that like me hoping that they'll respond with kindness in the way that I would want them to respond with kindness. And like 9 times out of 10, they do. And then after doing that for so many years, it's almost like because of expecting kindness from other people, have sort of become part of this network of pretty kind people and like helping people. So it's like, what you're saying is if we do that more, it's almost like we strengthen, you know, both professionally, business wise, but also just personally, like we strengthen this kind of interwoven network of just cool people and cool artists who are doing cool shit, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, this was super, super cool. And so if you guys just tune in, Cassie's leaving next week to go shoot in a remote town in Alaska. Well, to shoot outside of a remote town in Alaska. And we had already talked about when she gets back after 4 months, we're going to do this again. And we're going to look at what you came up with.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
I'm stoked.
You're going to have some stories. I bet you're going to have some stories, and this is going to take it's going to be like a 5-hour Facebook Live.
I know, yeah, you better set aside some time.
And you will not get eaten by a bear. You have to promise everyone that. I'm sorry, I shouldn't joke about it. It's like a real thing. Like
I know.
It's like, yeah, you have to watch your ass.
Yes, I will make sure to follow my bear safety guidelines.
Yes, just don't carry pocketfuls of like salmon jerky.
Oh my gosh, that is another thing. You gotta keep the snack closed and concealed until you're ready to
totally
keep them away from the bears.
At the end of the 4 months, are you totally sick of salmon jerky?
No, I actually could never get sick of it.
It's like the best thing in the world.
I'm pretty spoiled up there.
Yeah, I bet.
It's pretty ridiculous to be like, oh, I'm just eating king salmon again.
Yeah, the best salmon in the world. That's awesome. Well, cool.
Yeah.
This was just really, really cool to see. Actually, you're doing this and you're making it happen, and you're working for cool brands, but you're like living this outdoor healthy lifestyle. You're not sitting at the computer, you know. You're I don't know, you somehow turn photography and post-processing into a really healthy lifestyle. So nice work.
Thank you. I love it so much.
Yeah, that's killer. And I'll put up links to where people can see more of your photos too. So thank you so much for sitting here with me, going through all of my tech support issues before we did this. But this is officially the first live podcast, whatever interview I've done. And I'm stoked. In 4 months, we're going to do another one.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. And thanks again for everyone for tuning in.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This is killer. Let's keep doing this.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Cassie.
I'll see you on Instagram with all my bear photos.
Yeah, keep putting up bear photos. We're probably gonna all follow you for the next 4 months. So, what's the date that you return roughly?
Well, I currently have a one-way ticket to Alaskan. So probably October 15th is usually like the time I come back. October 15th.
Got it. Cool. And one last thing: is summer in Alaska like glorious?
Yeah, we had a record heat wave summer last year, so that was pretty cool. But other than that, that it stays light until midnight is pretty epic for photography.
Oh wow, that's incredible.
At least for a few months while I'm up there, it's light till midnight. So I'll take advantage of that, of course.
Cool. All right. Well, can't wait to see.
Awesome.
All right. Stay safe. Run faster than your friends. All right.
See you.
Bye.